Let me just think here. Sorry, I was in a deep meditation before this. Yeah, so last time I was definitely in a crisis. So I want to thank you for helping me through that, because it really does come back to just not feeling grounded with who I am. So I felt that just with some of the stuff that kind of uh, was brought to light that I didn't really realize helped a lot. Um, yeah, so specifically the motivation theme
Mm,
for like innocence and desire, that was incredibly eye-opening. It Yeah, it just kind of explained like, well, we were talking about, okay, so we are talking about just like going, you were like, just go have rest, go for a walk. Um, and it was like, it kind of triggered like something inside of me, because I realized like, I don't know, no one's really kind of like said it like that. I really am like always following into like the generator flow, and um, really haven't honored that rest time I need. And it was kind of like I never really made the connection of like sitting at home and manifesting, like doing nothing is actually kind of a lot, you know? So after that, I just took a lot of rest,
mm,
like a lot, like, and also too, like I stopped condemning myself for it. Like it wasn't like, okay, rest this week and then go do something next week, or like rest tomorrow, or like rest today and then do something tomorrow. It was really just about like resting as long as it took.
mm,
So, and also to not no negative self-talk. So that's where a lot of my negative self-talk was coming from, was just from not honoring the fact that like I really am just not designed to perform in, the way that I've almost been taught to perform,
mm,
kind of just. And then, so why that was interesting is because after that, I really saw like how the open centers have so much opportunity for conditioning. So it was like, I'm like, okay, so deep down inside, I'm I'm operating in my authentic self. Like I'm doing this naturally. This is who I am. But there's all these like persuasions on this other side dragging me into like my not self theme. And there's these traps everywhere. So it came in the all this time I did nothing, came into like a lot of self-reflection and like deep healing too. Like there was a lot of energy going on. I um feel like I did some like interdimensional trauma healing. Like there was some really profound moments, and I was able to do that because I stopped condemning myself, and I was really like, no, rest is important. Like who were these deadlines for?
mm,
Like what is this pressure? Like what is this in my head? And really like, oh well, obviously a lot of things that have come to light um with programming and stuff that's been going around on the internet, and that whole side of things, which is, proves to be true in a lot of the cases I've been, how I've been operating on this planet. And I feel like I'm always being brought into something that's not for me.
mm,
Um, and so like what are those open centers, and like how do I get sucked into these traps that ultimately put me in a not self theme, which really triggers depression. Like I start talking bad about myself. Now I'm like, and then I'm like trying to distract myself, so I like want to be around people all the time, but that's actually not in my self theme. It's incredibly draining on me. But I didn't realize, because I was a server for so long, so I'd always be
mm,
around people. I always had like a really vibrant social group that has since, been pulled back over the years, probably because it was just wasn't for me. um and like how much I actually use other people's energies in those areas, those like where I'm open and I'm around people, like how those energies affect me. So I had someone stay over for a couple days. They needed a place to stay. And like when they left, because this has been like so, because this is like literally a world Vipassana, I've spent like all this time alone, not talking and stuff. I feel like way more tuned into my own energy. So I could like feel when this person left, like how it had affected me. And then I observed like everything I was doing. I was just like eating like compulsively. I was like, where is this coming from? I'm like, oh, I'm probably like, it probably has something to do with like my open center. But then it's
Mm.
like, if I'm not aware, then these are these like traps that like spiral me. Like now I'm not like observing diligently in these areas. I lose my focus and then I end up somewhere else. Well, just like, and it's fine to like, I don't know, something weird happened before I talked to you. Like I literally felt like a timeline shifted, and like there was some stuff on the internet talking about it too, and I was just like, whoa, this is pretty
Mhm.
nuts. But like it's like I went back into the dark night of the soul, but like I didn't really have any reason for being there. I was like, why am I here? Like, what is happening right now? And
Mm.
I wasn't scared though. Like before it was scary. And then this time I was like, I'm not afraid of this. I'll just get out of it. But I don't know why I'm here, you know? And it was like, what am I supposed to learn here? Like, what happened? So I don't know. That's when I reached out to you, because it's like, if I lose the light, I'm just gonna holler at Corey and probably could get better.
Mm.
Yeah, so then the whole innocence desire thing, that was a really big one, because it's like they're so opposite.
Mhm.
And lately, this is like very in sync. Lately, like I feel like the universe is like reflecting back to me all the times I am in my innocence, and almost like taking notice of that. And I was like, why is this happening? Before all this, I was like, why do people keep saying this? And I was like, oh, because that's when I'm like, that's when people like to be around me the most. And that's when I
Mm.
like to be around myself the most. And like, this is where my flow is getting cut off. As soon as I think about money, I swear I even like said this the first time we even had a one-on-one. I was just like, I just don't care about money. Like, I really don't. And then like that triggered, just knowing that that's kind of my motivation, that triggered a lot, because then I thought about all the times I've been doing stuff from a place of innocence,
Mm.
and then my flow would get interrupted because I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this thing, and people are like, well, what do you expect to do with that? And I'd have no point of doing it, and then I'm like, it makes me feel like I have to have a point to do something, but I actually don't. It's in my best interest to just do things. You know, all my greatest ideas, they come from a place of just like, I don't know,
Mm.
you know, innocence. And then, but then that triggered like this whole other thing, because like innocence is not protected as of right now. And it was just like, it was a big trigger, because there was like a lot of stuff that um you know, I was in my authentic self, and then I'd hit these roadblocks, and really it just happened to do with like letting in other people's opinions interrupt that flow and not honoring my true flow.
Mm.
So yeah, that's
Nice.
that. Yeah.
I like it. That's a really nice flow. I mean, you hit the nail on a lot of key pieces there, that I feel are very common for, I mean, a lot of people in regards to like conditioning and not aligned with like one's true identity, and then being pulled into all the directions, but specifically for manifestors, because we do have a certain unique ride, and it's like we're ongoingly facing the kind of balance between identifying with human design and being detached from human design, like, because in a sense it's still a system, and that any system falls short of the truth. Though when it becomes so like clearly experiential in like what you're mentioning, like just some simple perspectives that can completely shift like the total perspective on like, self-judgment and criticism, and holding to certain ideals or holding to certain expectations of others, and systematic or system-based, conditioning and norms and all these types of things. As that starts to be dissolved, then there's a certain beauty in the reemergence with the natural signature, like your natural frequency. There's another teacher who does similar work to me, and she's a manifestor, and she was speaking on this idea of like your natural frequency, like what is like your own individual frequency, and what does that feel like. And it, as you're mentioning, it's constantly being influenced by being in people or living quarters, or at work environments, or I don't know, anywhere you engage with other people. There's these like all these interactions that are occurring, and if there isn't that clear knowing of what is your own frequency and what is someone else's, then that's where we get kind of caught in this like never-ending rat race and seeking to find something. Because in a sense, that's all that is, like, aside from human design, is just like learning what we would call like energy encryption, being able to read an energy of something, right? And as you start to kind of tune to that, you can really like use this to your benefit, in regards to anything, like a certain new practice you want to take in, or someone's teaching, whether you feel it's true or not, or a situation, reading into like the timelines, if you will, or like whether this is for you or not. That the reading of that, of certain things, and taking in the encryption of because everything holds an encryption, so you're able to basically like read reality in a new way, because you do know your own encryption and your own frequency and vibration. And then by way of that, you can see very clearly what is not you and what is something else, and where the clear boundary lines are, you know versus if you just, it's kind of simultaneous. On one end, we are looking to realize oneness and the unity with all things, but we realize oneness through individuality, and through individual expression, because that's the unique lesson that we're designed to live through, which is our design, and what we have to experience versus someone else. Otherwise, there'd be no purpose to life. Like if
Yeah.
there wasn't like individuated like expression. So yeah, those are some really great pieces there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like that you said like the frequency, like the tune of your own frequency. That's exactly what I like after my friend left. That's exactly what I realized I needed to know. I was like, wow, I don't
Mm.
even know what does my body just presently sitting here feel like. So there was like 5 days of that, and that's when I did like some like deep healing, because I was like, well, this is what I feel like, because I don't want to get caught up. I mean, it really does. It just comes down to energy. Like whenever my creative flow is cut off, it has really nothing even to do. It's like energy, then mental. So it's like, well, where do I like keep things in tune on the inside? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's why this is like, just a nice opportunity to get like, it's great. I'm like, okay, get in deeper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real pulling back of all of the regular things of life and what people engage in day to day. And tomorrow we're going to do the talk on like purification and fasting, and the food topic, but on a full spectrum dimension, because it's not just food, it's just like all the ways in which we're nourished, and all the ways in which we're either, it's not necessarily so black or white, but there generally are the moments in which we're in a place of consumption or in a place of creativity. So like food can be a creative experience if it's done in a way where there's like a deep devotion to preparation, even growing the food maybe, and then preparing it and then eating it, and then like there's this whole like creative process that can unfold, that isn't coming with this kind of like fiending of almost vampiric energy of I need to consume, I need. And that can relate in everything, like sex and entertainment, and like all these things can be a creative process, and something of the higher order, though they have to be aligned in a certain way. And I feel like, like the one thing that was like the common business that I feel is really affected is the restaurant industry, right? And I was reflecting on that, and I was going to write about it in the new detox article that I'm going to write, because the restaurant industry in so many ways is a reflection of this incessant like consumptive energy, you know, where there's nothing wrong with going to the restaurant or anything, but if it becomes like the sole means in which we connect, right? Like the primary way in which all forms of, you know, parties and connection and going out and entertainment, like if it all revolves around that idea of consumption with food and restaurant energy, you know, that type of like world which you worked in, you know, um, then there's something to be revealed with that. So I feel just like everything with this whole pandemic we're facing and everything that's happening, it's all, like I keep saying it to everyone, it's all just a revealing. Like nothing that's happening is new. Nothing that's happening is out of the blue and just has magically appeared, like governments controlling, or you know, like not having, I don't know, like a correct way of making money, maybe because the way of making money was never proper to begin with, and now it's being brought to the surface, you know. So there's just so many ways in which it's just simply revealing, and that's all that life ever does. It's only ever a revealing of ourselves, and as long as we see it in that way, then we're never going to be really like blindsided. Like sure, we may be surprised about things at times, but because the nature of the unknown, though there's always going to be a kind of a resting balance within it all. And if things occur, you kind of know your power to be able to deal with them accordingly, you know. And that's like, in a sense, in my view, what one of the true archetypal energies of the manifester is one who's not responding to the world, right? Like you're not responding to the pandemic or responding to coronavirus or responding to the
Yeah.
governments, or you know, like that's the epitome of what the manifester anger is about, you know, where like all these things happening, I gotta, it's like, no, this is not the way. So I could see like manifestors in this time just, and more are going to get more and more angry, you know, because there's going to be more and more of that energy of revealing all the ways in which one has left their manifestor power and given it up to responding to things, you know, and to the world, and having everything else and everyone else tell you what to do or what you should be or where you should go. um, but boy, that like just doesn't work, you know. And that's what's so useful to the manifestor energy still, because a lot of people in human design talk about like it's kind of like the end of the road for the manifestor, if you will, you know, because it's like we're not the kings or the queens or the rulers anymore. And so like, well, what's the real purpose? And obviously there's still purpose in the sense that like the manifestor anger is actually such a great guidepost. Every not self theme of every system, but if we're just focused on manifestor, like the anger is the guidepost which then ignites like the new direction, you know. And so like healed manifestors or deconditioned manifestors are really going to be a very key component in this next phase, because they're the ones who are going to ignite the new ways in even just the smallest of moments. But to just, because they're the exemplary energy of what everybody's now pissed about, the fact governments are controlling and all that. Like manifestors just don't have that, like true, like someone who's truly living in their self, you know, like that's just not that's just not, we're gonna work, you know. So so yeah, it's gonna be cool to see, and it's important that this information is shared, because like the more that a manifestors can come into their healing, then you know they can be that exemplary energy of peace and doing things on your own, in your own way, in your own path, and all that, which all profile, that's the thing, like we all can benefit from each profile, obviously, because even though like we don't work like a generator, like the lessons we can learn from a generator are still obviously endlessly valuable. And then more importantly, then the synergy that can occur from like groupings of profiles of people living in their alignment, it's like, I mean, it's yeah, it's almost unimaginable what it will look like as that continues to happen, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. What was like my takeaway on that? Yeah, it was just like I kind of freed myself from like all those times I got trapped.
Mm.
Because I like, again, just like having like pressure to perform and like do something for this reason. But like I do, like if I am going to inform, like I always want to inform from the heart, because I just feel the shift. And if it's not to like, you know, a frequency that I want it to be, I just rather not put it out
Mm.
there. So I think the healing aspect of manifestors is really important too in that direction, because like, you know, there is a potential for impact, and it's like dominoes, you know.
Yeah.
So I like having a place of peace. And I think there was something earlier you said, like coming into oneness, by coming, like getting to know yourself more.
Mm.
Um, that definitely was the case just from journaling. Like, I just started doing, it's like morning pages or whatever they call it. It's like
Mm.
dumping anything spiritual in your head, just like on piece of paper. Um, and then through that, this was like part 2 of what I wanted to talk about. Through that, uh, I found some angry points of exactly what you're talking about, society. I was like, what does success mean to me? And it was like being controlled. Like it was like all these things.
Mm.
And I was like, what does this mean? Like, okay, that's not good. Like that's why it's fun to do, because it's an innocent, like basically now if if I have desire for anything, I'm not doing it. I'm just not. It's not
Mm.
the right way of going about it. I can see where my innocence has turned into desire, and like I also have to be um like strong about my innocence, which is so weird to be, right? It's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do this and no one's gonna tell me otherwise, because that's what innocence is, you know.
Mm. Mm.
And yeah, so again, then that because you always talk about the gift giving economy, and it just clicked. It came through. I was journaling and I was like, yeah, the problem with success is this hierarchy of money, and it doesn't support my flow. It doesn't help me in my like spontaneous nature. And I need to move forward in a frequency that allows more in, like just it's just open. It's an open frequency in the
Mm.
sense where, so another thing you said last time, you're like, well, what are you clear on? And that's like, that stuck with me. I'm like, okay, like what am I actually clear on moving forward in my life? If I'm to live for the next 7 years, like, which is kind of realistic, I should be able to set a goal that far ahead. It's like, yeah, if I'm going to live for like the next 7 years, like what does that life look for me and my frequency, like when I'm tuned into my own energy? So it was like, the journaling is a nice meditative experience, because it like puts hand to paper, so it's kind of has that connection. And then it's just like observing, like when I'm going through things, like how does it feel in my body, you know? And
Mm.
that's just the indication, like how does it feel? And yeah, I was just like, I just want to take pictures. Like I want to be, me ideally is just sitting in a park waiting for someone to show up. I take their picture, say some nice things, and then like in all of those times in my life, like when I worked for film, my job was literally just to like sit on a street corner, and it was a great job. Like I
Mm.
just sat in parks all day, and I was like, I loved that energy. And like it was like this weird time, like I channeled like different parts of my life, and I was like, who was I in these moments? Like what was working, what wasn't, and where did I interrupt my flow? Like at what point did it stop? When I was like in my groove, I've been in my groove. I mean, I wouldn't know what flow was if I haven't been in it, you know? So
Mm.
like what's stopping it? And yeah, so money's definitely a thing. So just trying to be in like a not lack thereof um mentality, where before I charge like it was almost like I was like justifying like my price for survival, and I
Mm.
actually don't want to do that. I would rather be busier, charge less, be busier, and potentially could end up having like a living that's just, you know, basic, because I don't really need much, you know. Like I
Mm.
have, like it's just what it comes down to, because like detaching from society, I don't know if like, I mean, I'm fully aware of it, but I was like, oh no, now I don't have a meditation community. Like there's, you know, and it's still attachment. Like it still comes back to me not having enough on the inside. Like
Mm.
those are great healthy things. Like it was great during the time when it wasn't this lockdown, but like now it's a huge reflection on myself, where it's like, okay, I need to like, you know, strengthen up on the inside over here, or I'm just gonna be like a puddle for 4 months. Like,
Mm. Yeah,
so
that's I understand. Well, I mean, the ongoing thing, my relationship with money and resources is, quite different because my main sun sign gate is 45.6. So it's the gate of resources, it's the gate of accumulation and the gate of knowing, what from the outside is needed for the inside of the tribe and how to bring it in. That could be knowledge, that could be people, that could be money, that could be, and then how to distribute that. So in my experience with it, in relation very much to the innocence energy, is it's manifested in the degree of recognizing that, like you're saying, as there's any sort of desire towards something, generally around something that's self-centered in some form, or self-centered can still be a positive thing because there are self-centered perception beings in human design, but it's something that's only for the benefit of myself and not for the tribe and the grouping. So my gate manifests in that way. So if I'm coming from the place of innocence and recognizing I'm just showing up and expressing what's just feels natural and at ease and with no real agenda, then money and resources naturally just attract like a magnet. They just flow so easily, and that's naturally going to be for the betterment of the group. That's how my gate shows up. With you don't have that, but you know either way, the money thing with innocence I found is going to be quite common, where the more that energy of just like of being innocently involved in your life in all respects, relationships, career, projects, whatever, like you said, like people naturally want to be around you, but that could relate with anything. Everything's going to want to be around you, money, resources, great opportunities, like everything is going to naturally be attracted into that field. But it's never really going to change the innocence, and that's where the potential transference comes, where like you're like, oh well, at least that's the way I've experienced it, like, oh well, this is attracting it now, so now let's make it into a desire, like because we can control this in some way, and then almost instantly the attraction stops, the resource flow, whatever, it just completely shuts off. So so then it continues to point you back. That's where the transference always moves you back into innocence, because it doesn't feel good in the body. And then you also see the reflection around you, where opportunities or money flow or things just are more grindy and you're having to respond, like that all starts to be revealed again. So yeah, that's a key piece, and I think that's a great piece to talk about overall, because a lot of people, well, the innocence and element, like you're saying, it had as equally as an important impact on my journey as well, because it's an hidden aspect of human design. It's not a commonly talked about thing, but it does actually so much reflect the the real subtleties of how the energies work, and that, like, because desire and manifestor vibes very much correlate, where the manifestor energy is very much about initiation and igniting kind of direction and things like this. But that doesn't mean it can't be done, like you're saying, like in an innocent way, right, where there's no real goal or desire with it, but there's still an initiation happening. And that's like, for manifestors who have the innocence motivation, that's a really important understanding. Sure.
yeah, it was probably the most important. Like, when I think about, like, when I was thinking about how to make my, purpose more flowing around like the gift giving economy, and just like letting in that like the theory of, the universe will provide
Mm.
whatever I need, and if it's not providing, then I don't need it. And it just like feels good in my body. So I guess like that was one thing I wanted to bring up, because um moving forward, I could enter like potential traps of, people pushing me to be more money focused and things like that. So it's just something I wanted to talk about, to just, what you said before just perfectly sums it up. Just
Mm.
always remembering to be in innocence and stuff like that, because yeah,
Well, and
it's
also
like,
the more that you resist money, the more that that will show up.
yeah,
You know
for
what I mean?
sure.
So
That's
like
proven.
that's like that's the key. It's like if there's a resistance to money, a rejection and resistance to money, then yeah, you're gonna have these mirrored people come to you saying you should be focusing on this, and it's gonna so that's at least in my experience, that's where it's come up. But like as that's been resolved more and more, in ever deepening ways and levels, and just like continuing to kind of like open up the perspectives of like the usefulness of money at the present time, or the usefulness of this at the present time. In my experience, because I have the 45 gate, what I've noticed is that my attention consistently has to be on the tribe and where the resources are flowing. But this principle I feel is applicable to everybody, in the sense that we're only going to have the money that we need, not what we want. It's only ever going to come in based on where that is going to end up going, right? Like if you have expenses, then if you're aware, like you look at your bank account every night, or you look at the fact like this is all the expenses I have at the present moment, then by observing them and continuing to train the mind to see and know and be in awareness of this is what I have, these are my commitments and responsibilities that I have to fulfill, then the observance of that, then the flow just, it's like the energy, you just open up the river flow, you know. That's as simple in my experience as it gets, because then from there you're in this place of innocence, you're initiating based on authority, there's a clear movement in that flow, then that's what's occurring, like everything is kind of like lining up. So the resources that are required to fulfill what you've already set in your mind is required, like you have to pay your rent, you have to, like the main things that is important, um then that's just as much as generally you're going to receive. And if you end up wanting to make an investment in something else that's bigger, or you have another expense that you feel is warranted in your life, or something you want to put money towards, then again that's a new element of awareness that now is in the mind and in the consciousness. And then once again the energy just flows where attention goes. So that's as simple as how I've noticed it to be. So it's not really a product of what other people are pressuring or this or that, because again, internally, if you're coming from this perspective, then there is no resistance to money, there's no issue with it, there's just a recognition that you don't need more money than what you need, like you only, the only money that you require is to continue to allow for this flow of service. That's as simple like as it gets. And in my case with 45/6, if when I got into places where again it was only based on my own needs or what I wanted and whatever, and it was becoming into that place of like more desire and egotistical driven, then almost instantly the flow of the money just cuts off. Like it's almost remarkable when I started noticing. I'm like, holy shit! Like it's just like boom, gone. And then I'm moving through these places of suffering and all that, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not, like where is this really coming from? And it's coming from these attachments of things that I think I need that I don't actually need, or a lack of appreciation for the things that are already are there that need attention and further resources or whatever, right? So with or without the 45 gate, in relation to that, I feel it's still applicable to everyone, even without human design. Just the simplicity of wherever the awareness is in regards to flow of money and resources, and you're consistent about that, then it's about the natural actions that come forth, because it's like the universe then responds by way of igniting natural creative inspiration to manifest what's required for basic needs, or whatever it is that you feel like is necessary, to fulfill monetarily or whatever, right? um yeah, so that in my view, that's as simple as it gets. I mean, it comes back to strategy and authority, obviously, which guides the way, anyways. But it's and then it's inclusive of, not attaching to rigid ideas around even gift economy. Like that can become another dogmatic view in itself, where in my view there's always going to be some form of exchange, whether it's like in some like fantasy World of Warcraft game where it's like gems or like energy balls, or like I feel like it's just constantly going to evolve within like reality, like within living reality. Whether we ascend into some higher beings and all that, I still think there's going to be exchanges of different, like, of those types of things, because there's a certain game property to that that's really fun, where there can be exchange and fluidity and all of that. It's just not going to come with like the kind of top down hierarchical um, type of approach. So the only way that we transmute that energy through what is to come, like, various, say, cryptocurrencies, or, gift or barter exchange groups or gift groups, and these things that are starting to pop up. That's all going to be a product of how we treat with what we already have. Like, if we're free with money now, and how we move it and how we exchange it, and giving to homeless freely, and, like, supporting people who need it, and then providing our services in ways that are much more flexible, like, we're just preparing ourselves for something that will physically manifest, that's more aligned with that in an actual, like, tangible sense. That's why cryptocurrency is popular in the spiritual community, because it does have some of those principles. It still doesn't completely relate to what gift economy is, but at least it gives a, like, a more malleable, non-domineering approach, although there's still a potential for that too. So, I don't know, who knows how it'll play out, but yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, it's almost like releasing a lot of control, because that's where like desire and control, it's like, I'm like, oh, I got to do this, and then this happens. And it's like, no, just make it as simple as possible so it's more accessible to people, and let the flow come in, because all those blockages just became so clear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. And that's where like, all the guards come down, all the belief structures, the dogmatic spiritual views, and the non-spiritual view, like, all of it just has to be, like, dissolved, because, like, any of the beliefs are just beliefs. So they're not true reality. They're just kind of like training wheels to, like, help us for a little bit, and then we have to evolve
Yeah,
through them.
I feel
um
that.
yeah, so I mean,
hang
yeah,
on hang on to them for a bit and then toss them. They're like
literally.
life jackets. Toss me something. Send me a meme.
It's so true. I remember actually the first time that I came to that teaching. I don't know. I think it may have been A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, or some other kind of non-dually type teacher. But I read it a long time ago, and that was, like, after I had got really involved with, like, Tony Robbins type teachings and personal development, and even, like, the dating industry type world for, like, men and stuff like that. And so it was all about, like, reconditioning beliefs, like, realigning, like, reprogramming new beliefs, like, all about, like, continuing to up level beliefs. And so then I heard for the first time the fact that all beliefs are false. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I'm like, I just did all this work, like, and then it completely, like, shattered my reality at that point, because I'd never heard that before. I didn't understand what that meant. Like, what could be beyond beliefs? All these teachers told me everything is belief. Everything what you believe is what your reality. But, it's still true. It's just that you can correspondingly hold both perspectives, and that's what kind of, like, helps you navigate the way, and then not get caught up in, teachings and perspectives. And we all have a tendency to do that. I've done it as well. But I constantly noticed along my path of traversing, and ascending through all these different teachings, where certain people just, like teachers that are very experienced, very well known, like 50 years in the industry or something, but still caught up in the same teachings, like the same loops of the way they do things, which is their own path, of course. But it didn't make it, like, that's where the kind of no belief idea really made sense to me. And I feel like that, again, that relates to a bit of the innocence energy too, right? Where, I mean, innocence very much is about having no beliefs, because you're like, well, this is what it is. Right
Yeah.
here, right now.
Yeah,
So
pretty simple when you're in a sense.
uh
It is as it is. Yeah, that I think just catching like old thought patterns is now just like my focus. It's just being like, nope, this is how I used to think. These are shame spirals and underlying programs that have been running that I wasn't aware of,
hmm
and it's redirecting them. So that's why like journaling helps so much. It's like so simple, but I can say whatever I want to myself on that paper, and it really does manifest. And as a manifestor, I should be manifesting something even if I'm not working, and it
True.
really just is like, because it brought me closer to like my own oneness, and it just like flowed outwards. I'm like, every time I feel unsafe or insecure or whatever, it just means that I've lost like connection to like my internal source,
Mm.
and I'm forgetting, just my own power again, like coming into the power of the manifestor, which is hard when desire is not your, theme, right? Because it's
True.
like, I'm innocent but powerful. Like it's just when you look at things like that, it's like, wow, things are crazy. It's like the yin and the yang. There's a big distance between the two.
Yeah, totally.
It flips far. Yeah, it was just like coming, and then I don't know, that just made me feel, I don't know. It's like I almost got more connected to like, my internal source in a more devoted, sacred way, where it's like
Mm,
my rituals, and whatever I choose to do, I leave room for spontaneous flow, but a lot of those things are a lot more clear to me now, just to maintain like the quality of that frequency, to not enter, like stop going back to those programs as much as I can, like
mm,
by just always being more connected to internal source. And then just remembering to like the like just really the frequency, all I want to do and everything is just send out just like love and light. So it's like that to me is the most perfect, underlying motivation of innocence, because it can slip to desire so quick. Like I'm sure that's like, and it's confusing. And that was another thing too, is like when I'm confused, it probably means like there's some not self-programming going on, because I'm like, I've so many times in my life I'm like, why am I confused? And it's like, oh, because I'm being ushered this way when I should go this way. And it just, yeah, it makes me feel like I'm personally doing something wrong. So I think I've really detached from a lot of the emotional attachment to things that have happened to me in my life, and almost hit like the 0 point of that, because I don't know, just understanding how my energy flow works, it just makes sense now how all those things happened,
mm, mm.
for whatever reason. It doesn't even matter, you know, how I ended up there. It's just like, well, this is the way I felt because of A, B, and C.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
use that knowledge to not fear and just move forward and find my own inner power, and not in like a dictator way. I just mean like that internal source of like not ever having enough on the inside where I don't need validation. I don't need feedback. I don't, I don't need anything on the outside. And when I'm in deep meditations, like that's always the message that comes back. So
Mm.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I
It's
like
been
it.
good. It's been good.
Yep. It's a good
Yeah.
flow. It's a good flow. I want to upload this.
Do it.
This is potent for
Cool. Do it.
manifestor vibes.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good one. I wanted to reach out to you, like it was perfect. It was in innocence alignment because you shared that meme. I was like, perfect. Today's the day I'll message Corey, because I was like, I'm like, I desire to message Corey. I don't want to message him. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, I'm just like I'm adding so much time to everything. I'm like, nope,
Mm.
add another week. Like get clear. Make sure
Yeah.
you're not going to rock the boat,
Mm.
keep that ship tight. Tight but flowing.
Do that.
Yeah.
Cool flow. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That's cool.
Cool.
Very nice. Side note,
Yeah.
I waited on shipping because I'm actually going to be in town potentially tomorrow, Thursday. So I may be able to just like meet you or drop it off or something. I feel like it's going to be quicker because to be honest, I'm not expecting the highest things of Canada Post right now.
Yeah.
So I'll message you
Oh,
and maybe we
I'll just
can.
cut you off. I'm glad you didn't ship, because no, I got it. It came in last
Okay,
night. Yeah, it came in last
that was
night.
the original reason. I had a feeling. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, good, cool.
It's like a one day. That's again like adding more time. I'm
Man,
like, if I just waited one more day, the package would have came. But
th- well, we'll include this in the recording. I was gonna cut it off here, but this is actually beautiful because this is actually a key piece that I had been practicing myself and realized with myself that I actually, when you said that, I felt it and I was like, okay, I was actually gonna ship it, but then it just didn't work out that day. And then I'm like, wait, let me just wait till Monday. And then yeah, because I noticed that in my own journey, like just a tad too fast, too soon to kind of reach out or to, whatever. Again, like you said, coming from that place of in our case with the transference of desire, it just doesn't feel right. It's not like the end of the world, but it just doesn't feel right. And then inevitably the same thing happens anyways, So yeah, that's a cool point.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, it worked out.
Yeah, patience always wins. It always comes back to patience.
True that. True that.
Just sit under the tree and wait.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Well, it's been cool. I'm definitely gonna upload this. 'Cause I can see it being really powerful. Because the funny thing is, there's not that much talk either on the motivations, especially innocence and things out there. But I've been coming across a lot of manifestors lately, and yeah, boy, we're a fun bunch,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, cool. That's cool that you've come across more manifestors.
Yeah, there's a number of them. I'm thinking about making a group or something at some point, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
That's what I was thinking.
There's a
It's
couple
like,
on Facebook. If you go online, I don't know if you're in them already, but there's a couple on Facebook that I've been in. There's one that's more active than the other. I forget. I think it's Human Design Manifestors. Um, it's pretty good. There's some good quality, things there, and it's just interesting to be amongst a bunch of the same, But yeah,
yeah. I
nice.
like my friend added me to like those spiritual groups with all the spiritual
Okay.
memes.
Yeah. Nice.
They're so great. They're like, is anyone experiencing ringing in their ears right now? It's like,
Perfect.
I love it. It makes my day.
Nice.
Okay, cool, Corey. This
Cool.
has
That's
been
fun.
great.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll
We'll
connect sometime soon. I feel like quarantine will be up soon, but who knows?
yeah, well, I'm not worried about it, but I appreciate this so much,
Yeah,
and
this is
thank you for
nice.
connecting today. Cool.
See you.
Yes.
Blessings.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
See you, Kelsey.